Hey, what's up guys, Joe here from JPRC. Welcome back. This is the shock tuning video for the Axial Bomber here. Now, as you can see, I have completed the first one already. This is the parts for the second shock and I have laid it down right here. And when I was working on the first one, I noticed the shock piston right there. There was not enough opening. So for the second time around, I made an extra cut on the piston to allow more oil to go through the shock body. And for this time around, I'm also using a lighter fluid. This is the associated weight 10 oil because I tried it with the 30 weight, it was too thick. So this time around I made an extra cut and I'm going to try it with a lighter fluid and see if that works better. Now, as you can see on the right hand side, these are the internal spring that goes inside the shock body. And for this application, I won't be using it. It comes with medium, hard, and soft. And on the left hand side, these smaller springs are the springs that will go into the shock reservoir. And the key to filling the oil for the shocks with the remote reservoir is to make sure that all air bubbles are removed from the shock body, removed from the hose. And that's where you can get a consistent damping action. Now, these are the bottom cap O-rings. I have pre-oiled them. So right away, let's put the shock together. Just like your 110, your regular 110 scale shocks, the shaft will go from the top, drop out from the bottom, and then it will be sealed with the two O-rings and the bottom cap in there. Because this is all metal, so I have to add a little bit of tread lock to make sure that the bottom cap doesn't back out once you have it in place. And right away, you know, the main shaft is completed. And for the price of these shocks, this is really smooth, so I'm liking it a lot at this point. The very next step is to, start working on the shock reservoir there. It comes with the bottom end cap. We take it out and you can see, the soft spring is already in there. Now there's also a piston inside and it comes with these long screws so that you can thread into the bottom of the piston, and then from there you can pull it back out. And as you're pulling it out, right, you can feel that there's a suction because it's all closed inside. And once you get it out, check it out. This is something that is looking pretty cool, just like a piston inside your engine there. So from here, we're gonna be filling the oil inside the main shock body there. And just like a regular 110 scale shocks or 1/8 scale shocks, filling the oil in there, it's just the same way with these ones. And the little difference in here is you can fill it all the way to the top because we don't have to care about the bubbles at this time. We'll be able to remove the bubble once we got the hose connected on there. And simply you can just connect the hose onto it and then we'll be able to get the bubbles out later. And we're just simply gonna twist it up and make sure it's all sealed. Wipe off the excess oil from my hand and on the body. So the very next step that we're gonna do is to get rid of all of the air bubbles inside the shock body through the hose out from the reservoir. And as I'm pushing the shock from the bottom, and you can see the oil is coming up through the hose right now. And the key in here is because we didn't have any bubbles from the main body, and when we're pushing all the oil up, all of the bubbles and air would have been pushed out into the reservoir here already. So at this point, I can continue to fill the oil into the reservoir and fill it up to the level, and that will be pretty good already. But I wanted to show you guys a little bit more of what's happening inside the body and the hose. So if I'm like pulling the main shaft back out, as you can see, the oil is flowing back down with now lots of bubble in the hose because it was sucked in from the reservoir. But we can continue to work this process. I just want to show it to you that you can actually get the bubbles in and out through the reservoir, which is pretty cool. So in that case, it's actually a lot easier to tune than your regular 110 scale shocks. So from here, I'm gonna continue filling the oil in the reservoir, and once I get it to a halfway up, and I'm gonna work on getting the main shaft fully compressed, and this way we'll push the oil up the reservoir right to the perfect amount. So when you have the main shaft fully compressed and the oil gets to right about the thread level, and that's about perfect. And from here, we're gonna be installing the piston back into the reservoir. Now, when you're putting it back in, there'll be excess oil that'll be squeezed out, but that's okay. But this is the process that we can ensure that there'll be no air bubbles inside. So once we get it halfway in there, I'm gonna push the piston through the reservoir. As you can see, the main shaft is being pushed back up by the oil inside the reservoir through the hose. And this is the process how the oil flows between the reservoir and the main shock body, and to increase the damping, to have consistent damping without any fading in there. So let's drain the excess oil in there, and at this point it's pretty much all set. And I'm gonna start with the soft spring for the initial testing, and then, you know, as needed, I'll put in additional higher spring rate spring in there for testing. The very last part, you know, once you put the spring in there, is to close the end cap. And of course, you know, the end cap is metal to metal construction as well, so we're gonna have to use a little bit of tread lock. So once you close the end cap and the whole shock building, oil filling, it's completed. And that is pretty cool. These shocks are actually very nice looking, and I'm really liking it. There you go. It's all set. One more thing I wanted to show you guys is the adjustability on these shocks here. Now, as you can see, this is on the lowest settings right now. I am pushing the main shaft in and out. The rebound is quite slow, but we're gonna go ahead and adjust the end cap and increase the compression inside the reservoir, and just twist it down a couple times. And let's try it again. Now you can see it takes a little bit more force to push the shaft back in, and then the rebound rate, it's actually a little bit higher. It takes a little bit more force to push it in there, and that's how you kind of adjust the damping rate for these shocks here, and I think it's pretty cool. And again, these shocks are super smooth. I'm really liking it, and you know, aesthetically, I think it looks really awesome on the Bomber here. And let's back out the tension here and try it again and see if it makes a real difference. Alright, yeah, as you can see, it's a lot more easy to push the shaft in and out now that we have reduced the damping rate. So again, the purpose of the reservoir here is to allow the adjustability, you know, without actually taking, you know, the shock mounting hole on you out in the field, and that makes it easier to tune and make it to right settings, you know, depending on your terrain. So with that, that's all I have for this video for now. If you guys enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll be running this car this very weekend, so stay tuned for that video, and I will see you guys next time.